Hey there. Welcome to the North Florida VA Real Estate Podcast. I'm Darian's avatar, the voice he sends out when he's juggling everything else, researching deals, pulling a hospital shift, or watching his girls spar it out in karate class. Right now, he's probably checking charts, answering calls, and squeezing in coffee between patients. So I'm stepping in to deliver the mission. This is episode 27, The Landlord Loop, renting out your old VA home. If you are serious about building long-term wealth through real estate, if you are a veteran, service member, or Florida homeowner sitting on a VA loan, if you are thinking about moving and wondering whether selling is the only option, this episode is for you. Before we go any further, do me a favor. If you get value from these briefings, subscribe to the show. Share it with another veteran. Leave a review. That simple action helps us reach more people who need this information. Now let's set the tone. We are not doing surface level content today. This is not, should I rent my house? This is, how do you think about keeping a VA home strategically? How do you evaluate risk? How do you protect your entitlement? How do you avoid turning a good decision into a long-term headache? Because here's the truth. A low interest rate does not automatically equal a good investment. And keeping a house just because you can is not strategy. It's hesitation. Let's clear up the biggest misconception first. If I used a VA loan, I'm not allowed to rent the home. Incorrect. The VA loan requires occupancy intent at the time of purchase. That means when you closed, you intended to live there as your primary residence. It does not require you to live there forever. It does not prevent PCS orders. It does not block career growth. The VA is preventing fraud. It is not preventing wealth building. That distinction matters. Now let's zoom out. Every veteran facing a move hits the same fork in the road. Sell or hold. Selling feels clean. It closes the chapter. It gives you liquidity. It removes responsibility. It simplifies life during an already stressful move. But holding, if done correctly, can compound over time. The key phrase there is if done correctly, because sloppy landlording destroys wealth faster than appreciation builds it. So how do you evaluate that fork? We use 5 filters. Filter 1, interest rate advantage. If you locked in a rate in the 2s or low 3s, that is below today's cost of capital. That is valuable. It is leverage that cannot easily be replicated in today's market, but it only matters if the property performs as a rental. A low rate on a bad asset does not turn it into a good one. It simply means you financed it cheaply. Cheap financing does not fix weak demand, poor location, or negative cash flow. Filter 2, rental demand. Is the home near a base? Near a hospital? Near strong job growth? Near schools that attract families? In North Florida, properties near NAS Jacksonville, Mayport, UF Health, Baptist, or growing logistics corridors tend to have durable rental demand. Rental demand reduces risk. Weak rental demand increases stress. Vacancy is the silent killer of first-time landlords. One vacant month can erase a year of projected cash flow. So study your micro-market, not Zillow optimism, real rental comps, actual days on market, actual lease numbers. Filter 3, spread. What is the difference between your total monthly ownership cost and conservative market rent? Not optimistic rent, conservative rent. Ownership cost includes mortgage payment, property taxes, insurance, HOA dues, flood insurance if applicable, then subtract management maintenance reserve vacancy allowance. This is where reality sets in. If your mortgage is $1,900 and market rent is $2,300, you do not make $400. You might net $100 or break even or operate at a small loss early, and that's okay if the long-term math supports it. Filter 4, equity position. How much equity is sitting in the property? If you have $150,000 in equity, ask yourself, is that equity producing enough return? If you sold and redeployed into 2 other properties, would that outperform? If you used it to eliminate consumer debt, would that increase monthly cash flow more efficiently? Equity trapped in underperforming property is lazy capital. Filter 5, personal capacity. Do you have reserves? Do you have time? Do you have emotional bandwidth? Because rental property is not passive at the beginning. It becomes smoother over time. But year 1 requires attention, tenant placement, systems, repairs, learning curves. If you are already overwhelmed, adding landlording may amplify stress. Now let's talk entitlement. When you use your VA benefit, a portion of your entitlement backs that loan. If you keep the home and rent it out, that entitlement stays attached. But that does not automatically prevent you from buying again. You may have remaining entitlement, you may qualify for a second VA loan, you may need a small down payment depending on price point, or you may choose conventional financing for flexibility. The key is running the math before you decide. Do not assume you are stuck, but also do not assume unlimited reuse without verifying numbers. This is where a VA-savvy lender matters. Now let's address the emotional trap. I don't want to give up my rate. That sounds logical. But rate alone is not strategy. If the property loses money every month and you are one repair away from stress, that is not strength. That is fragility. Strong investments are resilient. They survive vacancy. They survive repairs. They survive market fluctuations, which brings us to reserves. Before converting your home into a rental, you should have 3 to 6 months of mortgage payments saved. Minimum. And ideally, separate from personal emergency funds. Because tenants move. Air conditioners break in July. Roofs leak in storm season. Plumbing fails at 2 a.m. If a property becomes financial pressure instead of leverage, something was skipped. Now let's talk numbers realistically. Cash flow is only one channel of wealth building. There are 4: cash flow, appreciation, loan paydown, tax efficiency. Even if your monthly cash flow is slim, your tenant is paying down principal. Every month, the loan balance decreases. Every year, rents may rise with inflation. Over time, that spread can widen. Additionally, appreciation, particularly in growing Florida corridors, can quietly build significant equity. But appreciation should be treated as bonus, not guarantee. Now let's talk screening. This is where many veterans struggle. We are wired to help, but this is business. You do not choose a tenant because they seem nice. You screen income. You verify employment. You check credit. You review rental history. You apply written criteria consistently. Consistency protects you legally and financially. If you bend rules once, you set precedent. Professionalism from day one sets tone. Now let's address tax positioning. When you convert a primary residence into a rental, depreciation begins. Depreciation allows you to offset rental income for tax purposes. That is powerful. But depreciation recapture applies when you sell. That is why you coordinate with a CPA. There is also the primary residence capital gains exclusion. If you lived in the home 2 of the last 5 years, you may exclude a significant portion of gain when you sell. Military service can extend timelines. This creates a window. Move, rent, hold strategically, sell before losing tax advantages. Timing matters. Now let's discuss management. If you are local and organized, self-managing may work. If you are relocating across the country, professional management may protect the asset. Yes, management reduces monthly spread, but it increases compliance and consistency. It reduces emotional involvement. Sometimes margin reduction increases peace of mind. Peace of mind has value. Now let's address scaling mindset. The landlord loop is not just about one property. It is about learning how to think like an investor. Buy, live, convert, hold, repeat. If executed correctly, this can create long-term portfolio growth. But each loop must pass the 5 filters. Now let's add one more layer. Exit strategy. Every rental should have a defined exit. Are you holding for 5 years, 10 years, until retirement? Will you 1031 exchange into larger property? Will you sell during peak appreciation cycle? Holding without exit clarity is drifting. Strategic investors define timelines. Now let's discuss risk concentration. If 90% of your net worth is in one rental property, that is concentration risk. Diversification matters. One property can be foundation, but it should not be everything. Now let's address mindset. Most homeowners think in straight lines: buy, live, sell, move. But real estate allows loops: buy, live, convert, hold, compound, exit from strength. You are not required to follow default patterns. But long-term thinking requires discipline. It requires resisting short-term emotion. It requires running numbers before making decisions. Now let's revisit the execution plan. Step 1, talk to a VA-savvy lender. Step 2, Obtain professional rental analysis. Step 3. Run conservative projections. Step 4. Consult CPA. Step 5. Establish reserves. Step 6. Choose management. Step 7. Create screening standards. Step 8. Operate professionally. That is how you avoid turning a good rate into a bad experience. Now zoom out one last time. Real wealth is built through repeatable, disciplined action, not emotional attachment, not fear of missing out, not rate obsession. If the property passes the filters, convert it confidently. If it fails, sell strategically. Both can be smart. The mission is clarity. The mission is durable wealth. The mission is optionality. If this episode sharpened your thinking, subscribe to the show. Share it with another veteran facing that fork in the road. And if you are considering turning your VA home into a rental, schedule a strategy call. Let's run the numbers. Let's look at entitlement. Let's build a plan before you make a move. Because the mission is not just to own homes. The mission is to build durable wealth. Keep your head on a swivel. Check your six. And remember, everything you want is on the other side of fear. As always, everything you ever wanted is on the other side of fear. The Florida Veterans Real Estate Podcast is brought to you by Exit Inspired Real Estate. All information is for educational purposes. Consult a professional before making financial decisions. Equal housing opportunity.